Hvala svima što ste došli. Ja nisam baš veteranka, ali skoro da jesam. Od 2014. sam deo ekipe Food Talka i zaista mi je uvek zadovoljstvo. Danas ću moderirati panel Taste of Planet i predstavit ću vam svoje goste, neki će stići kasnije, predstavit ću na srpskom, a kasnije ćemo preći na engleski. Dakle, u ovom panelu koji će se baviti odnosom stranaca, odnosno ambasadora i drugih ljudi koji dolaze u Srbiju prema hrani na kojoj smo mi toliko ponosni i uvek gledamo te svetske liste na kom mestu se nalazimo. Razgovarat ćemo sa njenom ekscelencijom Marijom Levanti, ambasadorkom Grčke, koja će nam se uskoro pridružiti. Zatim tu je njegova ekscelencija Hidajet Biščević, ambasador Hrvatske. Biće tu i Andreas Photiou, on je novi ambasador Kipra. Stiže nam i Monika Suhajdova, ona je zamenica ambasadora Slovačke, a sa nama su i Fabricio Kosimi, on je ekonomski ataše Ambasade Italije, i Dejan Zagorac, koga mogu slobodno da predstavim kao istraživača u gastronomiji. So, first of all, let's talk about really Taste of the Planet. A friend of mine, Dragan Sakan, really the grand master of advertising, always reminds me to think global and eat local. This is all as well the part of your job. So, what was your first impression about Serbian food? Mr. Biščević, so you are expert, so.
Good morning. Hello, everybody. Thank you for the invitation. First impression. A lot of meat. Meat consumption in Serbia surprised me. All over Serbia, from south to central Serbia, I get this impression that no country in the region, no citizens of the countries in the region eat so much meat as in Serbia.
But it is the good quality, the good taste, because
we
are so proud.
I need to say, quoting myself and also listening to comments from my wife, that the meat quality in Serbia is fantastic. Really, it does not have... It still had this natural flavor. It doesn't have that, sorry for the word, little smell, but it is a natural meat.
And Signor Cosimo, what was your first impression? Che lei pensava quando per prima volta?
Hello.
Oh,
yes.
Welcome.
Good morning.
You're oh yes, Ambassador of Cyprus, Mr. Photiou. Welcome.
Yes, I think, good morning everybody. I totally agree with what just said from the colleague. Yes, I was impressed by the meat that is really very high quality, so tender. And in fact, one of my favorite dish, I will say, it's a meat dish probably. I don't know. Teletina is one of my favorite one. So, and also I was very curious about your bakery. And so, you know, we have this in Italy, this tradition of bread, you know, 1,000 kind of bread. And I discovered pekara that, you know, I didn't know. It was my first time in this area. And also, I like very much your products from pekara.
How we are in love with the bakeries. You can see, you know, every 5 meters in our streets are bakeries, so we are eating so much.
Exactly. So still, I'm not comfortable with bread, but I like so much other products. You know, you like pita, gibanica, burek, all this stuff is very, very good.
Your Excellency, thank you for coming, but our first question is that it is theory that we have to think global and eat local. It is also the part of your job, but what was your first impression about Serbian food?
Thank you. Thank you, first of all, for the invitation. It's a pleasure to attend this discussion. My first impression was that it felt almost like home. I think Cyprus and Serbia share some similarities in terms of culinary tradition and food industry in general, and also appetite. I noticed that the dishes are quite big, I mean the portions, and mainly meat, based on meat, which is also some similarity that we have in Cyprus. Although being an island, we also have a strong influence from the sea, so we have a lot of fish plates as well. So my first impression here was that I need to be careful because it's not easy to maintain the normal weight because the food is excellent. I like the way it is prepared with the flavors are quite strong and influenced by the country's tradition and history. I particularly, if I were to single out one specific dish that I like, is that of sarma, okay. Which reminds me of something similar that we also have at home, and that would be the dish that I would single out, but that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate the rest, which, as I said, is really a temptation.
You told us about the big portions, but I know that many Serbs, when they are discussing about the restaurants, they said, "Oh, it is the best restaurant because they have, great portions," and it is. They are talking like that. We are welcoming. Hello, hello. You are. Monika. Oh, Monika. Okay, from Your Excellency, thank you for coming. Let's say the first question I have to ask you, what was your first impression about Serbian food?
Well, my first impressions are not really the true first ones because I've been around in this region for about 10 years already. So Serbia, the kitchen is not very much different to what I experienced previously in other parts of the region. Definitely it's not a country that will make somebody vegetarian or somebody who doesn't eat much of a meat a pleasure, but I found some niches that I really enjoy. For example, we'll meet Jagnetina ispod Sača, just to single out one. To be honest, what I really like is a quality meat that is being offered and breeded and served here. So this I will single out as one of the advantages. If you go for a meat option, then this is the choice.
Thank you. Mr. Zagorac, you have a very interesting theory about the people from abroad when they come to Serbia and what kind of food they think that is only exists. Just two, cevapcici and kajmak, nothing else.
Yes, you know, we have now diplomats here, so I suppose they are not quite good estimate. They don't know about Serbian kitchen or don't want to say real. Neither is Serbian food all good, nor is only meat and cevapcici and burek. But it's somehow consequence of our poverty in the past, and we want to show the foreigners how we eat a lot, how we eat a lot of portion. And the second, why is that big portions? And the second reason why is so big portion in Serbian restaurants, because here is still habit to go to restaurant to see and to be seen, or when you are a lot of hungry and to eat a lot of meat, and even if you take away, it is even better. So I can say that traditional, because I am, as you say, researcher of Serbian gastronomy, I would say that it's not marked with a lot of portion of meat. It's something new from the Second World War and from socialist times. Serbian cuisine is more complex, more interesting. And also, Belgrade is not, how to say, good representative of Serbian food. You should go south, you should go north to experience real Serbian food and to see real Serbian hospitality.
Thank you. Mr. Biščević, we know that, I know especially, that you are you're a fan of Serbian food. Even you have, let's say, column and article in magazine Diplomacy and Commerce, writing articles with title Diplomacy at the Table. What it means to be diplomat at the table?
Well, the answer would take hours, but I will try to make it very short. Sometime, somewhere along long decades of my diplomatic career, I discovered hidden, secret relations between the food, politics, or even political history of the world. Sometimes, long ago, let me start with a quote. Probably the most famous French diplomat, Talleyrand, said to his king, "You feed your guest, and I will give you a good agreement." So this is the direct relations between the diplomacy, politics, negotiations, and the food. It might sound very surprising to most of you if I would go through a short list of political events that changed human history, and all of them were related or caused by the food. Probably the most renowned is the case of the French Revolution. French Revolution started basically because of shortage of wheat. End of the century, the price of the famous baguette, French bread, rose to a daily wage of an average worker. So the angry workers attacked Pastilla basically because of the price of the food or the bread. Independence of the United States, Boston Tea Party. Tea, again, part of the food spectrum. We are now witnessing this horrible war in Ukraine. But let me remind you that Russian-Ukrainian quarrels, to put it like this, started sometimes in the mid-30s, also because of the food. Because of Stalin's policy of taking away the wheat production from the Ukrainian fields and peasants. And it lasted for almost 1 decade. It is known as Holodomor in Ukrainian. And almost 10 million people died at that time, again, because of the food. Probably the most surprising story would be the relations between the slavery and sugar. Once the British colonizer brought tea from Asia, from Ceylon at that time, India, China, and so forth, of course they would need sugar. But there was no sugar production in Great Britain at that time, practically no sugar production in Europe at all at that time. So the British settlers of the United States set up these huge plantage of sugarcane And of course, they need a labor. And this is why, basically, they brought slaves from Africa to the United States. If he would be here, our dear colleague, my friend Chris Hill, current US ambassador to Belgrade, to Serbia, would tell you probably the details of his negotiations with, among dozens and dozens of negotiations that he held with the North Korea. And the basic notion of these negotiations was food for the disarmament. Just another example. If you would wonder why so many Irish people live in the United States, it is because of the unknown disease in 18th century that destroyed potato production in Ireland. And potato was essential food in that poor country. And half of the population of the island at that time, which was almost 1.5 million people, left to United States because of the hunger, in spite of the British naval blockade of the island. So that was interesting. There are many, many other examples. So I found it very interesting, this historical link between the food and politics and diplomacy. And then you suddenly realize that most of the important, if not fateful, decisions for the fate of people, states, nations, were made at dinners and lunches at the castles or negotiation tables.
So, thank you. Za sve one koji žele da pročitaju i da i dalje prate ovako interesantne priče, nalaze se u Diplomacy and Commerce-u, tako da ćete po završetku konferencije moći da uzmete svoj primjerak. So, we are welcoming Her Excellency Marija Levanti, the Ambassador of Greece. And my first question is about first impression of Serbian food. But for you it is difficult because Serbs and Greek people are thinking about dishes that they are very similar. Yeah. Are you agree with that?
Yes, I do, sorry. Okay, yes, I do agree. Thank you very much. Actually, I like a lot of Serbian food, and some of them are very similar to ours. And mostly Serbian food cuisine is around meat. Ours too, but we have a lot of fish that here is mostly river fish. We have the sea, the sea fish. But in terms of everyday cuisine, we have very similar dishes. Like we have, for example, we have the ivar, which is my favorite. But we have something similar with peppers or with eggplants. We do more most often. The impression is that it's all this area of Balkans, Mediterranean has similar products. We have, the vegetables. We use a lot of vegetables, as you use also. The beef, the lamb, etc. We use the same, more or less, ingredients. We use, of course, olive oil much more than butter. And you have here this difference. Because actually the olive oil is one ingredient that in Greek cuisine exists since, ancient Greece. If you try to find one ingredient that's always present in the cuisine of Greece, is olive oil for sure. And that's one small difference, let's say, between our dishes, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. For the moment, I will just ask you not to be diplomat, and let's talk about the restaurants from your countries in, let's say, Belgrade or in Serbia. Mr. Kosima, what do you think about Italian restaurants? We were talking about that there are some which are very good.
Yes, actually, we are quite lucky because at the end, there are a few restaurants that you can define Italian, but not so many, honestly. Many, they have maybe some Italian dishes or pretending to cook Italian. We are very serious when we talk about our dishes abroad. And so it's not easy normally to find good Italian restaurant abroad. But here you have, maybe in one restaurant, of course I cannot name, but you have probably the best pasta in Belgrade. You have many good pizzeria, because now Napolitan pizza is very well present also here. So
can you tell us the couple of names, because it is interesting for the people.
Okay, if I may. Okay, for pasta, I will definitely suggest Rustic in Senjak, especially for pasta from Roma, because the manager lived in Roma for 15 years and he knows perfectly the Roma recipe for pastas. So definitely, if you want to eat a good carbonara, amatriciana, or ragu bolognese, you must go there. For pizza, you have a few of them. Campania, I would say, same Rustic, Maestro Margherita. Also Amici is very nice. So, maybe I forgot something, but some of them. So, for pizza, no problem. For other dishes, just a few, I would say.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Suhajdova, will you be so kind to explain, because there is no restaurant from Slovakia here in Belgrade, the type of, let's say, Slovakian cuisine?
Well, yeah, you're right. There's no Slovak restaurant here in Belgrade, but in the part of Serbia, in Vojvodina, where our Slovak national minority lives, you can find quite many restaurants that serve Slovak food, or they are actually Slovak. So I'm really honored to be sitting here among the big names in the world culinary, as is Greece, Cyprus, or Croatia. But I don't feel like being intimidated by this, because Slovak cuisine, with its sheep breeding tradition and combining the taste of Austro-Hungarian, has a surprisingly amount to offer. The origins of traditional Slovak cuisines go back to the times where most of the population lived in the villages, with very limited imports and exports of food, and also means for modern ways of storaging. So this resulted in very staple-heavy meals that could survive hot summer and cold winters. So the cuisine was based basically on wheat, potatoes, milk, dairy products, pork, to less extent lamb. Yes, and
okay.
That's about the traditional cuisine. So if asked about the most typical Slovak food, the answer will be brinzové halušky. It's like a gnocchi, like dumplings made of potato dough, served with brinza. It's a traditional, strong-taste Slovak sheep cheese that originates in the mountainous parts of Slovakia. They are now typically served in every restaurant that offered local cuisine, seasoned with fried bacon or fried onions. An alternative to this is brinzové pyrohy, which is like ravioli pasta filled with the same brinza cheese, also known from the Polish or Ukrainian cuisine.
Thank you. Mrs. Levanti, there are so many Greek restaurants, and how do you can say about that? Are they good, and are you satisfied with our view of Greek food?
Yeah, I think in Belgrade I know 3 restaurants actually. I don't know if there are more, but I have visited 3. I think all of them, they are in a very good level, and some of them, they have dishes that are doing better than other dishes. but all of them, they keep this traditional way of cooking. The three, so I know, is Piatakia. This restaurant is in Zemun and is also in Novi Beograd. And then there is this Meze by Elinikon, which is in Novi Beograd, and Meze restaurant in the center of Belgrade. I don't remember the street. Anyway, all of them, they're cooking all the traditional. I mean, you can find moussaka there, you can find calamars also, some of them. You can always find the pies that we have, the cheese pie, the spinach pie. They all serve this traditional food, plus other, different food between them. But I think they are in a very good level, all of them here. Thank you.
I heard that we are going to taste during the lunch.
Yes.
But a question for Mr. Zagorac and maybe for all of us. Why is that competition in the food is so important, more than to be number one in football?
Yes, we are very sensitive about what the foreigners think about our kitchen. And I think there are several reasons. First reason is maybe this hospitality from the past time, when it, as ambassador from Croatia, everything, gastronomy is connected with tradition, with geography, with identity. So people are very proud of their, Serbians are very proud of, but the other nations is very proud of their kitchen. And our hospitality is also a consequence of the past time when we didn't have TV or internet or social media, and the people were delighted to have a guest to tell them something about their news in the broad world. But now, how to say, we also want to break some prejudice about Serbs that our people think that is a consequence of 19th, when it was breakup of Yugoslavia and we were perceived as bad guy. So we prepare a lot of food to show the foreigners how good we are, that we cannot be mean if we are so cheer on the table, near the table, if we are so full of hospitality. So I think it's a good thing that our hospitality, but it should not be exaggerations. I suppose that a lot of our speakers faced our exaggerations in the food and in the drink. So let's find some middle solution. I think that would be good for our image.
Yes, I think we are very, very disappointed when we find out who is on the first plate, the second, and maybe from, last year we are 25th or something like that. But what about the Croatian people, Mr. Biščević? What they are they thinking that they have to be very good in that list of cuisine and to take high place?
Well, first, if I may, I fully agree with my colleague that food is also a reflection of the national identity. And I deeply believe in that. Take, for example, my country, Croatia. If you go through the Croatian cuisine, you will find dishes being prepared by the influence from Turkish times and Ottoman times through Bosnia and Herzegovina. It is prepared with the taste of Middle Europe due to the Austro-Hungarian Empire. It has some Hungarian flavor also, and it also has, of course, Mediterranean flavor. So the mixture of the food of these dishes, in a way, reflect the composition of the national identity of the country and cultural identity of the country, because, to put it very simply, Croatia is a country of Central Europe, Mediterranean, but also of the Balkans. So that's how, again, the food is influencing the social life and cultural life of the countries. And as for the Croatian cuisine and restaurants in Serbia, unfortunately, there are only 2 or 3 in Belgrade. All of them related to Mediterranean cuisine, because it is probably, if I may say, due to the dissolution of Yugoslavia, when even the cuisines were separated in a way. But if I talk to my friends in Belgrade, they still love wine from Croatian coast. They still love fishes from the Croatian coast. So it is interesting also to note this relations between the political development again and the relations with the cuisines of the different countries.
Yes, this is really a gourmet policy, let's say. And as I heard, you brought some very good Croatian wines. I heard that you brought some very good Croatian wines here.
There are some.
Okay. We will taste later. But let's say...
If I may, at the beginning of the independence period of Croatia, there were 2 things that we diplomats were spreading around the world. And all the embassies, everybody was full of Croatian wines and ties. Ties, because kravat, Croat, and so forth. So it is a national symbol for Croatia. Interesting anecdote, again, over one of the dinners. There was this Belgian ambassador sitting next to me in Ankara. And we were just chatting and exchanging jokes, and he said, "Do you know how we called your country at the beginning of the 90s? I said, "Probably Croatia." What? "No, we called you Thailand." So that's another example.
It's a funny story.
Not to mention, my first visit to Indonesia, 1992. There was a down-the-line conference in Jakarta, something like that. And I went to the business center, and I wrote a short note to the president and the minister in Croatia, and I gave the note handwritten, to the young boy in the business center. "Could you please fax it to Croatia?" He said, "What?" I said, "Croatia." "What?" "Ah, you want croissant." So again, politics and food.
Again, but we know that we are always Siberia. Anyway, all of you were very polite and nice about our food. But my experience is like that when my friends came from abroad, they eat 3 days, day by day, Serbian food, and then they ask me to make some tea. Because they cannot anymore, be like that and taking that so much food. So what do you think about, how often you are have Serbian food at your table in embassy or going out?
As I said in my first intervention, being here is quite a task in terms of culinary discipline, because if you don't watch it, then you end up with extra weight, which might already be visible in my case. So you're right in the sense that you cannot eat every day. So I personally try to have it in my weekly diet at least 2 or 3 times, so I enjoy the local cuisine, but not more than that, because otherwise the consequences would be very, very, very hard to deal with. But it's a temptation. It's not easy to stay away from certain dishes, and especially in social events and gatherings where you always have the possibility to grab a bite, then I do it, and I get out of my discipline. But in general, you have to watch. But if I may add on the previous, I just would like to say that I agree that, of course, the cuisine is a form of identity, and like Croatia, also Cyprus, in the crossroads of 3 continents, Asia, Africa, and Europe, very close to Turkey and the Middle East, with many, many conquerors through times that settled on the island. We have a lot of influence, but it always becomes a political issue as well. For example, when we try to register our cheese halloumi as a protected designation of origin within the European Union, then we got objections from a number of producers throughout the region, including from the European Union, as high as Finland. So it's always a political issue as well. It's not only the financial impact of selling a national product like halloumi or feta or mozzarella, which is a huge financial investment. It's also the political issue that pertains to the issue of identity. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Zagorac, what do you think? Is it possible to make Serbian nouvelle cuisine, as some chefs are trying to do?
Serbian what cuisine?
Nouvelle cuisine.
Nouvelle, yes.
Serbian
yes, I think, yes, there is, we will see the next sessions about the tries of Serbian chefs to make nouvelle cuisine. But I want to refer something about these foreign restaurants in Serbia, how to say, world restaurants. And for example, Italian restaurant is often used in this pizzeria ketchup, which is blasphemy for Italians. And I heard also that these Chinese restaurants, that this meal from China is nothing to do with our meals that prepare here. So our restaurateur, how to say, try to adapt foreign kitchens to Serbian custom. Maybe it's not bad. That's some kind of fusion kitchen. Also, I don't know, we have also sarma as Greeks, but it's not with rice only, not so small, but with meat. The Balkan cuisine is very interesting, and I also had the opportunity to experience Cypriot cuisine, which I must admit I prefer that than the Greek, because that Middle East flavor, I think, and this halloumi and this street food in Cyprus is, how to say, easier than in Greek. So it's interesting. We should also compare with the other kitchen and to take something from them. We also had very, very big influences from Austro-Hungarian monarchy as in Slovakia, but also from Italy. And also there are some Croatian specialties even now in Serbian restaurants, mlinci, and but štrukla I've never tasted in Serbian restaurants. Is there some štrukla in Belgrade? I don't know.
No, just an Esplanade is the Zagreb, the best one.
So yes, that mixture of culture and mixture of kitchen gives best results, in my opinion.
Yes, that's true. But the question for all of you, of course, and us, let's say, which taste or flavor you will remember forever when you leave our country?
I won't leave. That's not questions for me.
I will. I do. So please, Mrs. Levanti.
Well, I think the ayvar, as I said before, and the kaymak. We don't have kaymak, but we have to be careful with it.
But don't eat cevapcici and ayvar. It's blasphemous ketchup in pizza.
No, homemade ayvar is better, yeah, and spicy. I like it.
And some recipes, because I think nowadays we cannot have overweight luggage full of food. It is not. It's not able to have that kind of luggage.
Yeah. So what
Just
is
recipe.
Just the recipe, yeah. Just the recipe of ayvar. Huh? Oh, you want me to say recipe?
Yes, however, is our caviar. So.
Yeah.
So, please.
For me?
Mr. Kosimi.
Oh, yes. As I told you, the recipe I will take the same of my colleague, probably the Latina Itspot Sacha. But also, yeah, this flavor, ayvar, we also use paprika in Italy, but, here is cooked differently, so I will definitely remember, as well as kaymak, despite our thousands of cheeses, but this is very nice that it accompanies very well the meat, so definitely I will remember. And I would like also to connect it to the previous talking about the identity, food identities. We are definitely, I agree on this, and I like also the contamination in cuisine. I see that also here, there is a lot, and it's good things. But when you expect a food from a country, it should be made in original way. So you can tell, okay, this is, I don't know, carbonara by me, and okay. But if you pretend to be a Greek or a Croatian or Italian restaurant, you should stick to the recipe. It's not so difficult nowadays. I found very strange sometimes even there are mistakes in the name. There is internet. We are not in the 50s, so you should be a little bit attentive when you open a restaurant. If you want to be Italian, Greek, then okay, get information and then open the restaurant. For us, it's a very big problem. This, we have created this two word Italian sounding because we are very much affected. The Italian food industry exports every year more than 50 billion euros of products. And imagine that these fake products with the Italian somehow branding cost us between 16 and 80 billion every year. So we are trying to fight this phenomenon. So even when we talk about restaurants, we are very sensitive and we would like to promote the real one. And then, super open for contamination, but that is not, original cuisine. And I take the occasion also to invite you to Italian Cuisine Week that will take place also in Belgrade in all countries where we have embassies or consulates from 13 to 19 November. So we will have a whole week of events of different aspects, cultural, commercial, scientific as well. This year will be the main theme will be the table with Italian cuisine, well-being with taste. So we'll try to conjugate the health with the taste. That's it.
Thank you, Mrs. Suhajdova. What are you going to bring with you?
Well, if I'm to single out one taste that I'll remember most, it will be the taste of kaymak. But as it has been mentioned already before, then I'll go for number 2, and it's a special taste of smoked paprika and the kulen sausage. You probably know that's very typical to Slovaks in Vojvodina, also called Petrovska klobasa. And as for the recipe, I'll go for a meat-free dish, and that will be kačamak. The best one I've eaten down in Etno village in Sirogojno in Serbia, and it's a food which is a mix of smashed potatoes together with the cheese and kaymak on the top.
Okay, it's good to see. And you, Your Excellency, and then Mr. Biščević, you've just written some things, so we will hear after.
For me, well, I arrived only recently, so I'm not sure I tried everything yet. But from what I have tried, As I already mentioned, I have singled out sarma because it's similar to something that we have back in Cyprus and also in Greece, which is called koupepi. And you will have the chance to try it later. We brought some. The difference, of course, is that here it's wrapped in sauerkraut, whereas in our case it's with wine leaves. And here it's a little bit more spicy. So this is, until now, a flavor that I would take with me.
Yes, because you already arrived.
Yeah.
Yes.
But if you ask me again in a couple of months, maybe I have a different answer.
Of course. See you next year, anyway, here at the Food Talk. And Mr. Biščević, we are waiting for your favorites.
Well, if I would move away from the traditional list of cevapcici and grilled meat and so forth, I would take some probably unusual thing that I adore here, and I don't know the English translation, of course. It's satarash. Fantastic. Another dish that I don't know English translation, stella. But as some of my colleagues said, I think I will take away the taste of sarma with me. Although I lived in and worked for years in Turkey, I know all about all the dolmas in the world. I lived in Bosnia, another sarma country, but I think sarma in the Serbian kitchen cuisine is something also that I will take away. Which reminds me, mentioning sarma, and I want to finish with this anecdote. Some 15, 20 years ago, there was this Regional Cooperation Council for Southeastern Europe established by the European Union. It assembled something like, at the beginning, 11, and later, due to the reasons that we all know, 13 countries, from Moldova to Montenegro, from Slovenia to Turkey. And in the formative days, we were discussing the charter of the RCC, we were discussing this and that, and I was nominated as a Secretary General. So I was heading these discussions. And at one point, we agreed about all the elements, except, well, we need to find some common sign for this regional body. Somebody came with the idea, let's use the yellow stars of the European Union because we all strive to the European Union. Turkish delegation was insisting on a crescent, and it ended in a heated discussion. When I was watching this with a sort of laughter, and I said, my dear friends, if we want to find what's uniting this part of Europe, on our memorandum and on the flag of the Secretary General for the car, we need to put sarma, because we all love sarma.
Yes. So, Mr. Zagorac, I'm expecting from you some conclusion, and maybe can we just wait or hope to one day have one Michelin star?
Well, it's the question of $1 million.
And it costs $1 million, I think so.
But it's good that there's Michelin and Gomio, as a lady from a touristic organization came here because it make our chefs to improve their skills, to take care about. It's not only this decision of getting a star, but it is a process of preparation and adaptation to the European or world, level. So it's not, it's not the most important. The most important is not the goal, but the way to go to that goal. And the second, I want to give a message to all the people and all diplomats here. Don't only go to restaurants, go to the ethno-villages, go to the private people to see real Serbian hospitality. Don't praise it too much because it will be loaded with more food and more drinks. But don't be gentle in critics because we are so, how to say, you can be insulted by you can insult maybe your host. And not only, travel throughout the Serbia, not only in this Donji Dorčol where we are now, but in Niš, if you like to say, to try the best grilled meat, or in Vojvodina to try these dumplings and strudel and dried meat, as you said. For example, this excellent, not only in Bački Petrovac, but also in Svetozar Miletić and wherever Slovaks lives in Serbia, made delicious, how to say, these sausages. So discover Serbia, enjoy Serbia, and don't exaggerate.
And also, it's not need to have fine dining dish for the Michelin star, because I remember in Slovenia there is some very small restaurant. No, it's not a restaurant, it's a couple of tables, and they make great beans, for example, or hammered eggs, whatever. So simple food is now very fashionable from my point of view, and real food, which we, I think, have in Serbia. So I expect also some question from Robert.
Okay. I was not prepared, but I always...
Because Igor Mandić always teach me to help to somebody to ask from
I have a question in first panel about, you went outside about why we don't have butter in Serbia, and what's the problem with our milk industry. For this panel, I want to ask just short question, all of you. What was the best food restaurant experience in the world, not in Serbia, you ever had? Think a couple of seconds and answer. The best, most authentic, it has not to be fine dining or I don't know, but most authentic food restaurant experience in the world, doesn't matter where.
I will start with, with some tavern in Cyprus last year near Larnaca, and these lamb chops. It's very rare here to eat lamb chops, so I vote for Cyprus. 12 point.
You love Cyprus, we can see.
Yeah.
Well, I would say I think fresh fish in small taverna in small island in Greece.
Not easy to answer, but probably, I have some particular memory of this restaurant in San Benedetto del Tronto, in Marche region in Italy, so on the beach, chalet with very, very fresh fish as well.
The number one will be my grandma's soup when I came soaking wet from a tour, but if talking about the experience in restaurant, there will be riblja čorba, fish soup in a restaurant on Ada Bojana, so where the river meets the sea.
So, you? It's difficult.
Difficult question, because, at least for me, because I've seen thousands of restaurants across the world. But if I would need to underline which one I remember most, is the smallest one. There's a restaurant in Luxembourg. We were taken to the dinner by the then president of the European Council, Jean-Claude Juncker. And it is a house in the center of Luxembourg where husband and wife turned their own house into a private restaurant. And it is so well known across the world that unless it was the president of the European Council, we would have to wait to book the table for 2 years. 2 years. as we entered, there was only one table at the first floor. And the dishes were fantastic. And there was no menu. You get what they cook that day, and they cook fantastic. And sometimes, as an amateur cook, I dream about my own private restaurant with one table.
Thank you.
In my case also, I will go for the fish, coming from an island. And what I always keep in my heart is a small fish tavern in the city of Paphos in Cyprus, in the west coast, where I enjoy the fish there, which is always fresh, coming out of the water instantly. Yeah.
Thank you. And I will, do you want something? Okay. I will say also, my maybe in the last time was a candle of mangulica. It's a kind of pork here in Belgrade. Secret place.
Okay. Obratit ću se na engleskom zbog diplomata. So we all know that your chefs of your cuisines prepare the food for us today. So my question for all of you, what did you bring today? What are we eating from all of your... So what did you prepare? I mean, what your chefs prepare?
From Cyprus, we brought two influenced by Cyprus. Sorry, koupepkia is minced meat. Usually, it's mixed pork and beef with rice, wrapped in wine leaves. So one dish is koupepkia, and the second is a kind of a dessert cake that we usually eat on the first day of the year, called vasilopita. So we thought maybe an option of a dessert is also useful, so people can try that. Thank you.
Well, to choose, on the first place I would put risotto from a small township on the Dalmatian coast. It's called Skradin. Skradin risotto. I remember the TV serial by this promoter, Bourdain or something like that. He was also amazed with the dish. It is a risotto made of veal and chicken meat. The interesting part is that it is cooked for 8 hours minimum, and it is cooked only by men. Men would gather in some kitchen at the corner of somebody's yard, and for 8 hours they were cooking. And then add the rice in the end, and prosciutto and parmesano, blah, blah, blah. My theory is, of course, that they invented this dish so that they can drink without being bothered by their wives for 8 hours. And on the second place, as somebody also mentioned, this is a specific Croatian food dish, strukli. I don't know the English translation, cheese pie or something like that, which is part of the Croatian tradition, in particular in the northern western part of Croatia.
Best. Who you also prepare something?
Yes. Well, unfortunately, we have another event today that is coinciding where we are presenting Slovak cinematography, cuisine, and wines. So we were not able to prepare the creme de la creme of our cuisine. But still, I'm bringing fried potato pancakes in the finger food size. They're also called harula in the region where I come from, or baba in the western part of Slovakia, typically served with sour cream or with brinza cheese. And for dessert, I'm bringing linzer cookies, yet another example of the influence of Austro-Hungarian cuisine, coconut hedges, and gingerbreads.
And do we have something from Italy?
Yes, we have something. No, despite,
No,
unfortunately, also our the ambassador chefs is overwhelmed today for some visit. So, but he managed to do some finger foods. So he prepared these arancini, that are small rice ball, you know, fried with breadcrumbs around and eggs, and inside, you know, the recipe varies from Italy, from central Italy to southern. I think he made the simplest one with the tomato sauce and maybe mozzarella cheese inside.
We brought tiropitakia, which is small cheese pies, and keftedes, which is meatballs with ground meat and onion and basil and fry.
And I brought my book. My colleague Jelena Đorđević, Tastes of Vranje. It's about gastronomy of southern city of Vranje. So.
Thank you. We are already hungry,
Yeah.
and it was a really pleasure and a great honor to me to speak with you. Thank you.
Just before we finish, thank you for your answers, and I can't wait to try your food. We did some kind of survey, actually a poll on our social media networks. The question was, when you're traveling, actually when you're abroad, which food do you usually choose? So 62 of them said local food, 8% of them said fast food, international food 31%, and actually 0% of people said food that is most similar to ours. Do you want to say something about this?
Well, I usually choose local food, of course, because it would be, first of all, I like to discover different cuisines and dishes across the world. Second, it would be, you know, you come to Sri Lanka and you don't try shrimps with curry sauce. You're missing a lot. You go to India, you taste Indian food. You go to Northern Macedonia, you taste something from their kitchen. So it would be, it's not only interesting, but it would be some sort of a, I dare say, unpolite not to order local food at different places.
Thank you. Anyone else maybe want to say something?
It also depends of. It also depends about circumstances, about material status, about how time you have. We can all taste the local food, but sometimes we are not in a position to choose local food, but to grab some sandwich on the railway station. So.
Or just go to McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
I always choose the restaurants with local food instead of shopping. So,
Of course.
But there is one dish, a local dish, that I would never, ever like to taste again. And I tasted it at the court of one of the Arab leaders. It's a starter, a fresh sheep's eye, and you had to eat it. Bon appetit.
Yeah, also.
Yeah.
I agree also on not normally trying the local food, but as a colleague was telling, yeah, okay, depends from the time that you have to spend in the country. I remember one of my postings was in Pakistan, so you definitely cannot eat Pakistani for more than once or twice a week. So you know, a lot of pasta at home, and you know.
Okay, so thank you, dear diplomats, and sad možemo da pređemo na naš jezik. Dakle, bio je to drugi panel za danas. Thank you once again. Maybe the photographer is just going to take a picture of you so you can stand up together so to have a memory.